Good morning, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. This is Rich again, back for your first video blog of the day for Saturday, December 13, 2014, around 6:30 in the morning in Belleville, Massachusetts. Going to be hopefully a nice sunny day, highs close to 40. Some news to report. The New York Knicks beat the Boston Celtics by the score of 101-95. And 38 years ago today, the classic Goodson Todman game show Double Dare, hosted by Alex Trebek, made its debut on CBS. It lasted only about 4.5 months, and it's Taylor Swift's 25th birthday. And that's about it on that. And the next thing on my list is the top 10 greatest things, anything and everything. I have reached the top 10 greatest sports magazines of all time. I used to read a lot of sports magazines back in the day. I still do on occasions, and some of these magazines were the best ever, had some of great articles, and they were well known and stuff like that. I got a lot of interesting facts about this. Most of these magazines are no longer in business, or they've gone to digital only. That means you could get them on the internet. And here are the top 10 greatest sports magazines ever. Number 10 on the all-time list is WWE Magazine. For over 30 years, it was a great publication from World Wrestling Entertainment. A lot of them were like feature stories, photos. A lot of it was kayfabe, but you got a lot of great stuff in WWE Magazine. It was one of the best-selling magazines out there. It ended publication as a print magazine this past September, and that's kind of sad, but it was declining in sales. And I used to subscribe to it for over 16 years. That comes in at number 10. Number 9 on the all-time list of greatest sports magazines ever, Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Pro Wrestling Illustrated's been in publication for over 35 years. It was the major App magazine. App means Bill Apter was the editor of those magazines. Plus, he was the editor of The Wrestler, the Inside Wrestling, Sports Review Wrestling, Wrestling Superstars, etc., etc. Pro Wrestling Illustrated was great because it had a lot of features and stuff like that, and they had columnists, and it was pretty good, and many of it was kayfabe, but I liked the photos. Plus, it back in the day, it got me interested in several other territories, because in the Northeast it was just WWE, and I learned about many of the professional wrestlers through the App magazines. That comes in at number 9, Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Number 8 on the all-time list of greatest sports magazines of all time, USA Today's Baseball / Sports Weekly. Sports Weekly started in 1991 as Baseball Weekly. You got all the information about baseball in there, and also the scores. They put in all the scores of the games from the previous week for many, many years. It got real popular. It used to be sold weekly, then bi-weekly during the off seasons of baseball. But baseball, got more and more popular. They sold it every week. By 2002, USA Today rebranded Baseball Weekly as Sports Weekly to cover the NFL. Eventually, they cover all sports, including baseball, football, hockey, basketball, and other sports. So it's really branded itself from Baseball Weekly to Sports Weekly. Number 7 on the all-time list of greatest sports magazines of all time, Inside Sports. Inside Sports was an in-depth look of the world of sports, some of the business side of it, and some features. It lasted many years and stuff like that. I used to get it through subscription. It ceased publication in 1998 when it was bought out by Sport Magazine. And number 6 is Sport Magazine. Sports Magazine lasted well over 50 years. It was one of the best sports magazines of all time. Before Sports Illustrated, that was the number 1 sports magazine everybody got was Sport Magazine. Lots of in-depth features and stuff. It was a monthly publication. Got a lot of information about that. Towards the end, I subscribed to it. They would have a bikini issue during the winter months and stuff like that. So it was pretty good, but eventually it ceased publication in 2000 because of the internet and stuff like that. But it was a good magazine. Number 5 on the all-time list of greatest sports magazines of all time, Baseball Weekly. Baseball Digest. Baseball Digest has been around since 1942 as like the Bible of baseball and stuff. Lots of in-depth features and stuff, previews of the upcoming season and stuff. It used to be a monthly publication, but eventually it's now down to a bi-monthly publication. I've subscribed to that magazine for 20 years. It was a pretty good magazine. At first it was a small digest type magazine, but now it's a regular type magazine that comes in at number 5. Number 4 on the all-time list of greatest sports magazines of all time, the Hockey News. The Hockey News has been around over 60 years. At first, when it came out, was like a newspaper style magazine, and they did it for close to about 50 years or so, but 60 years or so. But now it's now in a magazine format. Get a lot of information about hockey in there, usually previews of what's going to happen in the NHL, and they also cover college hockey and junior hockey and have historical stuff. Pretty good magazine. I've been subscribing on and off to it for 16 years. Number 3 on the all-time list of greatest sports magazines of all time, ESPN the magazine. ESPN the magazine is a bi-weekly publication that's came out since 1998, and it's made money within its first few years. You get a lot of in-depth features from ESPN writers and stuff, and it's more of an in-depth feature stuff instead of like current events and stuff. And they've been focusing the past few years now of like every issue is a theme issue and stuff like that, and it's pretty good. And once a year they have that thing called the Body Issue and stuff like that. They're pretty good issues that ESPN the magazine. It's one of the best magazines going. Number 2 on the all-time list of greatest sports magazines of all time, the Sporting News. The Sporting News was published for over 125 years in print. It was best. At first it covered just baseball, and it was like the number kind of everybody read it for like baseball news and stuff like that. Eventually it morphed into covering other sports like the NFL, NBA, and NHL. It was real popular at one time. They even branded out to radio, Sporting News Radio and stuff like that. But by the mid-2000s, the internet took over and Sporting News lost its luster, and they had it rebrand itself, had it go from a weekly to a bi-weekly publication in 2008, and then to a monthly publication in 2011. And by the end of 2012 it stopped publishing in print. It's on internet now, but I missed reading the Sporting News. And the number 1 sporting magazine of all time is Sports Illustrated, no doubt about it. The granddaddy of all of the sports magazines. Been in publication for over 60 years. Love getting it. Love especially the Sportsman of the Year, the swimsuit issue, the football preview, and the baseball preview. One of the best like magazine of all time, and one of the most popular ones, Sports Illustrated. I like to read it. And that's about it. Facebook friends and YouTube followers. Be back later on today with 2 more video blogs, which will be about the infamous Sergeant Slaughter at Hilton in 1990 in the WWE when he was an Iraqi sympathizer. And last one will be about the classic television series Banachek. No personality profile today, and heads up, no top 10 list tomorrow, because those things need a day off or 2 just to rest. See you later, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. Bye now.